Well, Kyler, this is happening.
It sure is.
The first ever Minot Talk, bringing back a little bit of talk radio to Minot.
You excited?
Well, yeah, I am excited, and not sure because this isn't quite radio, but it's modern day radio. It's where we're at.
It's as close as it gets.
Yeah. Do you listen to the radio when you drive?
Hardly ever.
Do you listen to music on your phone?
Of course, also through streaming services. How about you?
There you go. That's where I'm at in life too.
Yeah. I mean, we got to get ready for that next wave of media.
Absolutely. You got to use your mic, dude.
Oh, my bad. People aren't hearing me.
There we go.
I'm way too far away.
Here at the beginning, we're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. My name is Jonathan Starr. Of course, you've seen me on some of the podcasts that we've done. We've done a lot of them, interviewing a lot of people in Minot and in the state. And so it's been a fun journey with Minot Matters. And we are turning that into a weekly episode that we're doing here live at the Dakotan's studio, where we talk about some of the things that are happening in Minot that are current.
It's going to be fun.
This weekend, there's something big happening that we're going to talk about. We have someone on to talk about that. Introduce yourself, Kyler.
My name's Kyler Call, born and raised here in Minot, North Dakota. You can see or listen to me or watch me and here on the podcast with Jonathan. Also, you can read my articles. I'm covering the Minot City Council on the Dakotan.com. Feel free to check us out there or on Facebook. I am available all the time. It's fun.
It's a great time.
It is.
So this episode, we have a few things that we're going to be going over. One is we're going to be talking to Rebecca Neely about the things that are happening in downtown Minot this weekend. Kyler's going to lead that. We have Jennifer Kleen joining us to talk about the wayfinding signs. On the way to the studio today, I saw one of them.
You saw the first one going up?
I saw the first one that I'd seen live.
There you go.
It was one pointing me to Minot State University. And then I saw another one, the Magic City Discovery Center. Looks good. They're coming up around Minot. After that, we'll have Lisa Olson joining us to talk about that budget tour that we recently had in Minot. So exciting stuff.
Going to be a great show.
It's going to be a good time. So our first guest is Rebecca. Why don't you go ahead and introduce her? Rebecca
Neely. She's born and raised here in Minot, North Dakota. Went to R.E. Deemers Christian High School, and ever since she has moved out of state. Started up her own worked with her husband's distillery, if I'm not mistaken, in Kentucky. Rebecca, I'm Kyler. It's a pleasure to finally meet you.
Hello, Kyler. It's nice to meet you as well.
Likewise. So you're going to be back in Minot this weekend. I have you coming up for the whiskey and, the bourbon and brew coming up this weekend at the spot downtown. Could you tell us a little bit about the event?
Yes, it's called Straight Up and Toasted.
Straight Up and Toasted.
You were so close. So every year, actually it's our third year in a row that we've done Straight Up and Toasted. And we bring some of our products down that are exclusive to our distillery. And I talk through those products. People get to taste 3 different samples of some award-winning bourbon, which I think is really exciting. And it's really stuff that you cannot find in North Dakota, at least not currently,
sure.
Which I think is a lot of fun as well, because, it's fun to taste things you can't get. But we'll have dinner. We'll also have cigars, which Sean Sitma will be talking us through smoking cigars as well. And we're going to have some amazing auction items that'll all be benefiting downtown Minot.
Perfect. And where tickets available for purchase at?
There is a Straight Up and Toasted webpage. I think downtown at Margie's Art Glass, which is my mother. They've got tickets there as well. I know they had some issues with the ticketing. So if you can't get them online, go down to Margie's. They should be for sale at the door as well on the day of the event.
And they are $50 a head?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So tell us a little bit about your recent events. Last year, I know we talked about when you were talking with the Dakotan about the 2023 Spirits and event in San Francisco. Could you fill us in how that ended up going for you guys last year and if you're going to be participating in this year's as well?
Yes. So we got our results halfway back. They gave us results, but there's some stuff that's not going to come out till October now, which is insane. Last year we won best in class with our absinthe, and we also got our platinum award with our absinthe, which is a huge deal. We also were runner up for best in class with one of our finished bourbons, which that just means it enters into a secondary cask, which is a massive deal. And this year, currently we can announce that we won a double gold with one of our brands that we did. And it's a huge deal. It's in the small batch category. That will actually be a bottle that is at auction during the event. I brought 2 of them, so that will be at auction, which is, I think, really cool because it's not going to be something you can find anywhere, and it's one of the world's best right now. We'll also, we'll also have a few other bourbons that are gold winners at the World Spirits Competition, like a toasted barrel. We've got another one from the Key West Whiskey Awards that was a very exclusive bottle. There was only 24 bottles in this barrel.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So that's pretty exclusive, like you said. It's hard to get your hands on one of those.
Very hard to get your hands on that. We'll have one bottle of that being auctioned off as well. But it's going to be a pretty cool event, I think, and we've got a lot of really awesome auction items this year.
Oh, for sure. It sounds like it's going to be a great time in downtown Minot, as it always is. Beautiful location down there now. So you've been working with bourbon for most of your professional career here. Why bourbon and not like a rum, since they're both distilled in wood barrels?
Rum's boring.
I love it. Okay.
That's really the best excuse I have. And bourbon there's a huge community around bourbon. I'm not saying that there's not with rum, but there is a massive community that surrounds bourbon, something that not everyone knows about bourbon, because, you hear bourbon and a lot of people think, oh, that can only be made in Kentucky. That's not true. It can be made in anywhere in the United States, but that's it. Bourbon cannot be made anywhere else. It is America's native spirit. So that is the product of America.
Bourbon is American as it gets at that point.
It truly is. And there's just a massive community around it. Some of my best friends in the world have been because of bourbon. That's how I met my husband. That's why I'm in Kentucky. And there's just so many amazing things that happen because of bourbon and just drawing people together. And you don't have to have the most expensive bourbon in the world to be part of that community. You can get whatever you want. As long as you like to sit around and talk about bourbon and sip on it, you're good. That's all you need. Yeah.
So are you a sipper or are you a mixed drink kind of person?
Oh yeah. And I use a Glencairn. I rarely, I do some cocktails, obviously every once in a while because it's fun, but most of the time I'm sipping mine neat.
There you go. You have to, right? That's how you get the most full effect out of it that way.
But just to be clear, you drink your bourbon however you want. Real bourbon drinkers are not going to judge you for it. The ones who, maybe are a little bit uppity,
Those might. The bourbon snobs.
Exactly.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we let you go today?
We just hope that a lot of people come out. $50 for a dinner, cigars, and some drinks is not a bad deal, I'd say, this year. You're
going to be speaking as well, aren't you?
Yes, I will be talking all about the distillery, and I like to think I know quite a few things about bourbon and distilling at this point. So you can really pick my brain about almost anything bourbon, which I just think is, like I said, it's a good time, and it should be. Hopefully, the weather's nice.
Fingers crossed
that we have some good weather again this year. We've really lucked out. All 3 years in a row, we had a massive snowstorm 2 days after last year, I think it was. So
sounds right. Yeah, I know in May last year, or April, we had some good snow.
Yeah.
Knock on wood, fingers crossed this year will be good for you.
Exactly. So it should just be a good time to spend a nice Saturday night sipping bourbon, smoking cigars. Even if you don't smoke cigars, that doesn't matter. Give them to someone else.
Exactly. Someone will.
Exactly.
Perfect. Well, Rebecca, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure today. We hope to see you again on sometime. And if not, we'll hopefully see you this weekend.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Rebecca. Well, Jonathan, who do we have up next on our list of esteemed guests for the day?
Well, I'm back and we're getting all this figured out and it's a time.
It's fun.
So get this. Last weekend, I'm driving home and there's police all around one of the hotels on North Hill or motels on North Hill. Saturday night. Yeah. and that made the news and I'm sure a lot of people heard about that. But there was something else that happened earlier in the week that was quite interesting. Okay. And so our next guest is with the city of Minot. She works in the communications department. And she's going to talk to us about the wayfinding signs that went up or started going up in Minot last week. So welcome, Jennifer.
Hello.
It is so good to have you today.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. Do you have a guess on how many signs are out there?
So there's a lot that you guys are putting up 45 right now. So let's go with 30.
It's 46 total. I guess I don't know how
46.
many are out there right now. I set myself up for that. Sorry.
Gotcha. Okay, sounds good. So 46 total are going up. That's exciting. So walk us through May 10th. You know, I'm looking at the social media page for the city, and somebody goes, and probably it could have been somebody from the communications team or somebody that's helping us all the signs, takes this picture, you get it, somebody on your guys' team gets it, they schedule it, went out exactly at 9 a.m. and it's just going to be a great Friday. We're going to have a post about wayfinding signs and something new and exciting in Minot. Whoopee. And then all of a sudden, 478 likes and thumbs ups and whatever later on Facebook, 378 comments, 16 shares later. We have a lot of mixed reactions going on. This is supposed to be exciting, right?
You know, it's everybody's reading it, right? That's what matters. You have half that like it, half that don't like it, and everybody's reading it.
I have a muted back. Okay. Go ahead, Rebecca. I think we got you back.
Oh, hi. Did you?
Sorry about that.
No, we're good.
So I got so excited about that I went and I touched the soundboard and messed everything up. I've never done that. It's kind of like the other day. We were recording one of the candidates for city council, and we started it, and I looked down because I was seeing how we were just like 3 or 4 minutes in. I looked down, I'm like, dude, it's not recording. We got a problem. So it's not my first flub up, but making a couple that recently. But all right, so tell us about this project a little bit. Obviously, this is something that's been approved by the city council. We've been here. Maybe if 378 comments were made at city council, there would be something different. So that's we're past that point of this whole process. How are these signs being installed? What can we kind of expect from them? What's kind of the goal of them? Are you excited about it?
I am. I think they look beautiful. I guess I don't know how much of it went through, but just to quote my predecessor, Derek Hackett, we all know and love, he texted to check in on us that day that we posted it. How are things going? So to quote him, you know, if half of them like it in the comments and half of them don't like it, you call that a Friday win. It's okay.
There you go.
Not everything is going to be 100% on board, but this is a long-term investment for the town, a long-term investment in branding for the town.
Right.
Definitely.
So were you expecting, when you guys posted it, were you expecting like that much engagement, A, and B, I know it's not necessarily your job to like worry about everybody's feelings, but were you expecting the outrage that came with it as well?
And there was plenty of good in there as well. So my title is actually, it was changed from the public information officer to communication and engagement. So what we had on Friday was engagement. So it's okay. Not everyone has to agree. That's all right. Wayfinding signage has been in conversation for quite a while already. It kind of piggybacked with the one brand, those 5 M's that are in a circle that represent Visit Minot and the Chamber of Commerce, kind of represent the community as a whole. So those are at the top of each of those wayfinding signs. Both of those items were a recommendation by the International Economic Development Council. I'm still learning, but those were recommendations from them that came out of a 2018 report. So wayfinding signage has been in conversation for quite a while, and it has had mixed reviews that whole way through.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
So, Jennifer, what is your estimated rollout plan? What's the target date for having all of the signs up?
You know, I should have double checked on how many are out already. They have been working on the footings for like the foundations for each of those signs for a couple weeks already. And so when they were ready to put them up and make them visible, they were ready to go through and do all 46. So I can't promise that all 46 are up just yet, but that it wasn't going to be drug out. We were ready to make them visible.
Perfect. Well, good deal. Are you privy onto where all of the funding came from for this? I know there was a lot of questions in the comment section on Facebook about that. Where does the funding come from?
We intentionally put that full dollar amount in the Facebook post because we knew that was going to be the first question. So $367,000, 419. Sorry, we get past 6 figures and apparently I can't say numbers. $367,419, right? So that came out of our community development portion of sales tax. So from the first penny of sales tax, 15% of that goes toward community development. So all of the funds came from that. So this is sales tax funded.
Okay, perfect.
So some people are like, it should read Minot High School, not Magic City High School, and all this stuff. There's a couple more that was about things like that. Do they all read correctly? Like Mesa. Everybody was like, Mesa needs to be capitalized. That's an abbreviation. You're like, no, this is how they market themselves, as Mesa with a capital M and lowercase rest.
Right.
Was everything spell checked?
I trust our engineering team. I don't know what the conversation was that went into Magic City High School versus Minot High School. I'm sure that one will be addressed because there are two different signs that say both things. So gotcha. I'm sure we'll take a look at that. As far as Mesa, like you said, that's why we just shared the Park District website. They're the property owner, and that's how they refer to their own thing. Yes, it was an acronym to begin with, which is cool that people remember that. But that's its name now, and that's how the property owner refers to it. So that's what we went with.
Is it pretty easy to update them? Like the verbiage and stuff?
That's also an engineer question.
We're asking you all the hard questions today.
You know what? And I offered it to our engineer team, and they armed me with information and said, have fun. So here I am.
Sounds like an engineer team.
They're wonderful.
Yeah, no, they want to be out there working in the dirt, not talking about it.
Especially with the good weather. They got to be out there putting the signs in.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's very interesting. It's pretty exciting though, and it's cool to see them. There's one more question, and it's probably for the engineer team. But I was like, can a bike get under them? Because I was driving here, and I have I don't actually have the picture on my phone, but it was the one pointing to Minot State University that's on the sidewalk, and it's like, man, that seems like almost low, which will be epic because we just need to set up a camera there, and we'll get some great footage over time. but
it's a good question, and I'll break out.
You should ask the engineer team. Yeah.
Try it out. Probably, before you break out your cameras.
Hey, if you want some engagement,
that's right. That'll do it. And I guess so. You got the communicator and not the engineer, right? And so, from a marketing standpoint,
right,
these signs are wonderful for branding. Branding's important in a business, but it's also important in a community. So you can come into town from any angle and recognize that same feel. It creates a culture throughout the town. Were a lot of arguments in those comments about you can do all of those things on your GPS on your phone. The trouble with that is you kind of have to know what you're looking for. If you don't know that our town has a zoo, you're not going to Google the zoo. And the zoo does come up in the top 10. Yay, zoo. The zoo does come up in the top 10 things to do in Minot. But what's number 11? If you don't know what WeLinks is, you're not going to know to Google it until you see it on a sign. So they have a purpose. And we also have a portion of our population that turns over quickly, right? We're neighbors to an Air Force base. And so every 2 to 3 years, we're naturally going to have an influx of new people here. If they don't know what to Google, here's a suggestion.
Exactly. At least provides some kind of input for them to look at and think, get a brain starter going for them.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody mentioned in the comments that when they go to a new city, they look for these signs because it really helps them explore. And that was a positive comment that we pulled because we pulled a lot of negatives. So that's a positive comment we pulled from the comments, and I agree with them. I enjoy exploring, as probably a lot of people my age nowadays, exploring downtown spaces in the different cities that I visit, and having signs like that are really great because honestly, like, this is going to sound weird, I'm terrible at using Google. I love the idea of going to a new city and seeing what's going on. I have anxiety about trying to go and figure out what to do in that new place. And so having stuff like this is really helpful in that area.
We hope so.
We hope so. So, well, I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else that you want to add about this magnificent occasion?
I'll have to find those engineer questions that I didn't have answers for. Take my bike for a ride this weekend, and I'll follow up in the comments.
We got some projects for you, I guess.
That's okay.
No, I really appreciate you joining us, and maybe next time we can talk about construction season. Something else.
I love it. Sounds great.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you very much. You have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Absolutely.
Well, that was fantastic. Great information, great insight on the wayfinder signs there, without a doubt.
Absolutely. It's very interesting to understand how all that came about. And it's interesting. And our next guest will be able to talk about that a little bit. But it's interesting how this stuff, actually, there's a process. It wasn't Jennifer that came up with the idea. You know what we should do? We should put wayfinding signs out in the city.
Who would have
talked to engineering, and the engineers got them all put together, and we put them out. There was actually a process where it went before city council and was voted on, and all that.
And that's the nice thing too, is to have a little context and a little nuance to these things, because people just see the dollar signs and the number figure, and they just assume it's coming directly out of their pocket, which in effect it is. But at the same time, there's a lot more to it than just money versus no money kind of thing.
And there's 367 comments, or 378 now. I believe when we started, it's 376.
For Minot, that's a lot.
Hopefully I didn't accidentally comment, since I'm pushing buttons everywhere. But 376 comments, that would have been some great discussion at city council that could have been had.
Without a doubt. And that brings up our next guest on the show.
It does. Now, you followed this a little bit. I followed along too. Last week, there was a budget tour that was had.
There was. Lasted a lot of last week.
A lot of hours.
Very intensive for him.
A lot of hours put into that. And so we have somebody that was along for a ride of that. Lisa Olson. Thank you so much for joining us today, Lisa.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. So do you agree that maybe there was, let's confirm. Let me put it this way. You guys did vote on whether or not wayfinding signs would go up in Minot, right? Like it went before city council.
We definitely did. And we had a lot of discussion, not only among council members, but plenty of people in the audience shared their opinions on it. I can't tell you exactly how many meetings we had, but I would say easily 3 or 4 where it was discussed. So it wasn't something that just popped up.
Exactly. That's awesome. And that's how city council is supposed to work. There's this stuff. We see the dollar signs, and we get to talk about that today, the budget. And it's always an exhilarating topic, talking about budget. It's just
everyone loves it.
Nobody wins in that conversation.
Nope.
But there's a process, and it's nice when we have a good city, and I'm not trying to dog on anybody. And it's awesome when the process works properly, when people show up and engage and give their opinions. And obviously, if the city was ran the way that I think it should be ran, I would probably be the only one that liked it. So we need a little bit of diversity, right? So today, Lisa, we're again thankful for you to joining us, and we're going to start it off easy. What's the best part of being on city council?
Well, I was a 30-year-long teacher, educator, school administrator. And so I think that all of the things that I have learned from being on city council is probably the biggest plus for me.
Very good.
Definitely.
It's a good point. And so last week you had a lot of things you got to learn as the budget tour was going on. Before we jump into a couple things in the budget tour, why don't you just give us kind of like your feelings about how that went, and maybe some feedback that you're excited about?
Certainly. Well, I've been on city council for 14 years. So each city manager has had a different way of getting information to the council members and preparing us for the budget. And our current city manager, Harold Stewart, started this when he first took his position, and that was to take us on tours of every city department. And we've done it, a few different ways. Sometimes we've just done evenings. This time we did about 2.5 days total. But we get to visit with every department head, and they tell us everything that they need, and they don't hold back. They are honest with us. This is how many employees I think would be beneficial to run the services the way that they would be run best. These are the pieces of equipment that I need. So they're very honest with us, so that we get the full picture. Now, in the last 3 years since we've done that, no one has gotten everything that they have requested, but at least we are aware of what the needs are.
Right. A great example of that is, well, maybe not a great example, but an example of that is like the police department. And I believe that they have the budget for it, but there's 13 spots that need filled. And they probably had several spots that need filled year over year. It's just difficult to hire people in that area and get it fulfilled.
Yeah, it is. And, not only in Minot, but across the country, but that is truly an example. And, and we had a study done by CPSM. They came in and studied both the police department and the fire department and gave some recommendations. And for the fire department, they recommended 3 additional employees and a fire marshal, I believe it was. But for the police department, they felt that if they were fully staffed, they would have enough officers. But sadly, we're well below that number.
Absolutely.
As a quick follow-up to that, do you know if there any way we could better try to incentivize getting people into that workforce?
Well, again, nationally, it is an issue.
For sure.
Lack of respect, I think, for law enforcement is high on that list. Mm-hmm. One thing that was mentioned to us that would probably be an incentive to come to work in Minot instead of other communities within the state is to add both of our fire department and police department employees to the PERS retirement plan for emergency safety personnel. It's a little different plan than for other public for other public employees. A few more benefits, a little bit earlier retirement. Minot's the only community in the state that does not currently use that program. And so that is something that was mentioned that might be an enticement.
Definitely. No, I could see how that would definitely help incentivize, especially over a longer period of time for an employee to want to do something along those lines.
Some might say, and this is where we get into the fun stuff, Lisa, some might say that if we lowered property taxes, it would incentivize people. Obviously, there's a huge push for that. And there was, I want to hear your feedback on the push. Right now, I guess I should say the huge push didn't necessarily come from City Council itself. There's a little bit of discussion there, but we've heard a lot of that from some of the candidates that are running for the 3 spots for City Council. Mm-hmm. What's your view on how property taxes should be taken care of going forward into the future?
Well, for the 14 times that I voted on a budget, I have tried to vote for a budget that would keep property taxes as manageable as possible. And for 2 years, I was the council president. Council president always offers a recommendation. In both of my recommendations, I had a less than 1 mil increase. So I'm very cognizant of the fact that property taxes are an issue for everyone. And I said during the meeting, I think that there's only one thing that we can probably all agree on, and that is that no one wants to pay property taxes. But the reality is that we have a lot of costs within our community. So trying to keep property taxes low and manageable is my goal. But I don't like to just make a blanket statement that says we will hold the line when I don't know what the actual costs are. None of us do. We know exactly what all of the department heads say would be important to have, but we don't have numbers in front of us to crunch, and we don't know what the impacts of some of those cuts would be. So while I've encouraged the city manager to keep the budget, his budget, as lean as possible, I need to know what those cuts are before I'm ready to completely jump on board.
That makes sense.
For sure.
Let's not put the cart in front of the horse.
Mm-hmm.
So we went and opened it up for submitted questions, and there was one question that was submitted that I'm going to ask a little bit differently. Basically, this relates to the property tax issue. Obviously, there's TIFs that have been given out. There's tax payments, blah, blah, blah. What do we do to incentivize? And the company called in question was John Deere. I believe they're building outside of city limits, still in Ward County. What do we do to incentivize companies like that to continue to build within the city limits of Minot to keep those property taxes local?
Well, usually the large developers have been requesting some sort of tax abatement. Whether or not John Deere needed that tax abatement, I'm unaware, because that I never heard of any project being brought forth, but I think that there's a couple of things to entice big developers like that. One is maybe a tax abatement, and one is, good affordable housing, good school district, a workforce that's available for them. Those are all things to take into consideration.
Minot is the #1 highest property tax city in the state. Now, that's an unfair statistic, some might say, because it doesn't take into consideration for special assessments and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear that statistic brought up, and in general, is that something that concerns you, or do you feel like we're still being pretty aggressive?
Oh, it does concern me. And when I was first on the council, we were really proud to be towards the end of that list. And over the last 6 or 7 years, those costs have increased. Now, some of those are legacy projects that we have no control over, although we have a huge need for, and that would be NAS and flood control. So those are costs that we're incurring that other communities are not. So that needs to be taken into consideration. And the fact that we don't use special assessments, I think we should be proud of that fact too. I can say anecdotally, my son lives in a different community and had some special assessments done in front of his home, and he had a $30,000 bill that went with it. Well, yeah. I would argue that there probably aren't any homes, and if there are, there'd be very, very few homes in Minot that are paying $30,000 in property tax.
For sure. One thing too, I'd like to add, I love how easy and accessible it is on the Minot City website to find the property tax calculator. They've made it very easy, very simple. They've done great with that. What are some of the needs that you see coming up in 2025?
Well, I'll go back to the citizen satisfaction survey. I think that's probably where we jump off first. And obviously, #1 was to control property taxes. But #2 were roads. And we've known for quite a few years that we are behind on our maintenance of roads. And so an investment in our roads, I think, is vital, because we have learned that if we don't make the investment, it only costs us more in the end. So I think that that's important. Taking care of our employees. I back our employees because they are the boots on the ground. They are the ones providing the services. And so I don't ever want the cuts to come on the backs of our employees. For sure.
Do you feel like we're well prepared for the future?
Not 100%. I think we could do better. And, I have a good friend who says the only problems he ever has, can all be fixed with money. There's some truth in that, where we aren't as prepared because we do need to keep our eye on what we're expecting our residents to pay for. So, right. It's all a huge balancing act.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you.
City Councilwoman, we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And hopefully, it'll be interesting to see how June 11th plays out. We won't obviously ask you to comment on that. But when we talked last week, there was something that you mentioned that I think would be good for you to express, as there has been some questions of whether or not you would continue to sit on city council after however that election goes down with you in District 38. And so if you want, you can address that.
Yeah, certainly. Well, it's been the $1 million question ever since I announced my candidacy for District 38. And I hadn't really made up my mind for a while, but there were a couple of things that came into play. One, I don't feel like I'm completely done with City Council. I feel like I do have more to offer, and I have 2 years left on my term. And after all of the signature petitions were handed in and we knew who our candidates for City Council would be, then it became clear that there was not another woman that was running for City Council. And while I don't believe that someone is electable just because of their gender, I do think that it is important that a woman with some experience and is a good council person, it's important for us to stay on there. I've mentioned before, women feel very comfortable talking to me and approaching me, and I think that we need to have a woman there. So I am staying. I'm going to finish out my term till June 2026.
Absolutely. Well, that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations. Yeah, because Carrie Evans did not announce that she'll be running for re-election. So you will then become the only one on the council. So
once again, I've been in this role before. and I'm going to do it again.
Well, again, really appreciate you jumping on and talking with us about the budget tour. It's been very interesting, and we'll continue to follow along.
All right. Thanks. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Well, Jonathan, another fantastic guest. Got some really great info from Lisa Olson on that one.
Absolutely. That's interesting. Do you want to be a city council person?
Of course. Who doesn't?
You do?
Didn't every kid grow up wanting to be on the city council, or was I the weird one?
You were the weird one, buddy. Yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy.
For sure.
Some of the stuff that they have to go through, even just talking about like the wayfinding signs and how you get that much backlash when there's already been and there was, I didn't go back and listen to all the discussion on it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it being discussed about when it was before council, but there's a lot of subjects you just never win.
Exactly. And another flip side of this too, you have to realize this is a part-time job and a part-time commitment from these people. For the vast majority of it, this isn't their full-time job. This is something they take time out of their lives to do for us. They serve the people of Minot doing this. And
right,
if it needs to be a full-time job, maybe it's something else to be discussed at a later time, but I definitely don't think that would be anything that
absolutely. It's just incredible to me. So moving on, we have some what we're gonna do is we
go around the horn a little bit here.
Go around the horn a little bit. Part of this weekly Minot Talks broadcast, whatever it is, it's a talk show, right?
Exactly.
We're just covering random, interesting news, mostly from Minot, could be from North Dakota, even could be from the nation. And actually, there was one thing I was going to ask Lisa, and I forgot about it, or Councilman Olson, and I forgot about it. And that was in, I believe, Miami.
Okay.
They upgraded their police, like to go and get more policemen to come and work for them.
Sure.
They upgraded their fleet. And do you know what they upgraded their fleet to?
What's that?
They got a Bentley. No, I'm wrong. It was a Rolls Royce. Let me put
a Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen like, the Dodge Chargers and maybe even a couple Lamborghinis that they might have confiscated off some people at some points, but I've never heard of a Bentley or Rolls Royce police car or cruiser at that point.
The Miami Beach Police Department has added a Rolls Royce to its vehicle fleet. The luxury car, complete with police lights and sirens, was unveiled this Thursday as part of an effort to attract new recruits to the force. All costs associated with the Rolls Royce, and this is the part where she'd be happy about and would be all for. Well, I assume would be all for. All costs associated with the Rolls Royce were sponsored by Brayman Motors, a local car dealership, in collaboration with the city of Minot Beach. So there was no cost to taxpayers.
That's a good
They
deal.
just got the Rolls Royce to be part of the fleet. And
so does that mean every Rolls Royce police car has like the dealership sticker in the back window still?
It does. It has it on the front right of the vehicle. It says the name of the dealership.
That's okay. It's advertising. I mean, that's how you work that out, I suppose.
But like if there's a police chase going down, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna jump in the Rolls Royce and go out. You don't want to have to do any pit maneuvers or whatever they're called to derail a car.
That's what the Ford Explorers are for.
That's what
the F-150s.
Exactly.
Or even the Dodge Charger.
Right. Yeah. Both of them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Durangos, Chargers.
Durangos. There we go. That was
what
what
they
I
might be
was
driving. So we got more stuff to go over today. We're going to go over the news, but I want to talk about next week.
Sure.
Next week, we're going to do something pretty special.
It's going to be fun.
We've already reached out to the candidates and we've gotten some response back. There's obviously in this year's city council race, there's a total of 7 candidates. 2 of them are currently sitting on council. That's
running for 3 open positions.
There's 3 open positions. 2 of them are sitting on council. Councilman Stephen Padragula and Councilman
Scott Burlingame.
I just interviewed him yesterday. We have that coming out later this week. But you know how that goes.
Of course.
And then we have 5 candidates that are vying for those 3 spots as well. That would be Mike Blessum, Scott Samuelson, Rob Fuller, Mike Geetson, and Leif Snyder. You can see interviews that we have done with some of those, and we'll be doing with all of them. on our YouTube channel. So be sure to check that out. Be sure to while we're here, be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube.
Make sure you hit that bell for notifications. We're going to be doing this once a week.
Listen to the guy. He's bringing wisdom. All right. But next week, we're going to have the 5 candidates that are not sitting on council. At least there's been an invite sent to them all. Some of them have confirmed. We're still waiting on a couple.
Fingers crossed. We'll get them all.
So hopefully we'll have them all. Nonetheless, we'll have some of them to give feedback on some of the things that happens on council the night before, not to be the backseat driver, but just to be like, yeah, I really liked how this was approached. I would approach it the same way if I was on council, or I would have gone a different direction because I don't agree with this ruling. Some of the things that they're going to be voting on and discussing are things that the new council members, whoever is elected, whether it's incumbents or from the new candidates, will still be dealing with. So it'd be nice to hear what they have to say about those issues.
That's exciting. Can't wait to have them on.
Yeah, that'll be a good time. And we didn't talk about a lot at the beginning, but the format of this, as Kyla mentioned, he's covering city council. So typically after the city council meetings, that's why we chose Tuesday, so we would have a chance to talk about it. He'll be on. And then the other week, we will have a rotating co-host from the community. So if you're interested in co-hosting one day, just let us know. We already have some people that we have reached out to that have said that they'd be willing to do it. So it's going to be a neat thing, bringing something like this back to Minot.
No, it's going to be very exciting. We have a lot planned out, a lot to look forward to coming up, especially come primary election day here in Minot. Going to be having a live show that night. It's going to be got a lot in the works coming up.
That's going to be a good day.
It's going to be fun.
It will be. All right. So news around Minot.
Yes.
So we already kind of mentioned the one.
Last Saturday night, you mentioned this. You brought it up.
I almost went and pulled out my camera. And what was funny was also I interviewed somebody on Friday, and was a city council candidate, and his interview will be coming out this week. Make sure we got the interviews rolling for you guys. Okay, we're trying to provide it all for you.
All the candidates. We are trying to get as many as we can interviewed. We are trying to get the full coverage of this election cycle for you guys.
Absolutely. So he walks in. He's like, dude, there's a fire across the street. And I'm like, no kidding. I really wanted to go out and check it out, maybe go live or something, but I had an interview I had to shoot.
You got priorities you got to take care of,
right.
But it's always when that comes up.
When
that's
a fire.
Exactly.
How often do we get fires randomly in Minot? We don't get them often. Let's not change that. We appreciate that.
Definitely keep it that way. Great job to our fire department for keeping us safe.
Absolutely. We will announce who our guests are on the show, and if you ever want to, you can either leave questions in the chat like we had Brad do today. I thank you. And I didn't ask her that question, Brad, simply because I felt like that would be a good question for city council. But if you have questions that you want us to ask, then leave them in the chat, or you can just send them a message on Facebook at the Dakotan Facebook page, and we will work to get them asked if we find a way to do that. Can't promise that every question will be asked because some of them it might not work for that interview, but we do want to include your guys' questions because we want to find out what you guys actually want to talk about. All right. So news around Minot. We tried to talk about this 3 times, and I've detoured every single time.
4th time's the charm.
So there's a Minot man. We're becoming like Florida.
Oh, instead of Florida man, it's Minot man. It's always North Hill Minot too.
Yeah, that's fair. Minot man arrested for terrorizing incident. Minot man was arrested Saturday by Minot police in connection with a terrorizing incident when he allegedly had been chasing another person with a firearm and then refused to leave his Northwest Minot hotel room. This is the one that we were talking about. He was charged with terrorizing and possession of a firearm by a person prohibited, both Class C felonies. According to information from Minot Police, about 8:43 p.m. on Saturday, officers were dispatched to the hotel for reports of an altercation in the parking lot where a male with a firearm was chasing another male. So did you see that go down?
I didn't see it happen, but I saw the aftermath. I was leaving my brother's 40th birthday that night and drove by it. If you were anywhere on North Hill that night, you were going to see, they had about 4 or 5 cop cars all there with their lights on.
And eventually I read that the SWAT team showed up.
Yep.
And they had every door covered of that motel. It was incredible.
Had to get a warrant to break into his hotel room. Not 100% sure if that's how it played out for certain, but they had to get a warrant so they could actually enter in and take care of the situation there.
That makes sense.
For Minot, that's a little wild.
living on the wild side. Another one that's interesting, and this has been coming down the pike for a while, and that was Parkview residents received a notice to vacate. So the scoop on this one.
Parkview being a trailer court here in town, one of our many trailer communities in town.
After weeks of speculation, and this is from the Minot Daily, shout out Minot Daily, the residents of the Parkview Mobile Home Park in Minot were notified on Wednesday that the leases would not be renewed and the community will close in anticipation of the Milestone 2 phase of the Mouse River Enhanced Flood Protection Project. The written notice was left on porches and vehicles, but residents had shared speculation on social media that the news was coming after work began on removing the skirting from vacant rental units to prepare them for relocation to other Homes of America owned communities. So kind of interesting. If anybody was curious about what was going on in that's what's happening.
So yeah, basically just the next phase of the flood zone wall is getting built, taking place. And unfortunately, it just happens to go through Parkview Trailer Court. So those people are forced to have to relocate. The way it sounded, typically, I think they have quite a few options in town here. But unfortunately, uprooting for all of them at this point.
It happens, right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
All right, well, I'll let you take lead on this next one.
Yeah, so coming back this past weekend, a couple days ago, the second of the ND GOP House candidate debates happened. The first one was a few weeks back. It had three candidates: Alex Balzas, I hope I pronounced his name right, Julie Fedorchak, and Rick Becker, all were there. Balaz, excuse me. I apologize, Alex, if you're watching this. Those three were at the first one that was held in Fargo. Now, a couple days ago, they had another one that was hosted by BEK Network. A lot of sports they host here in the state. This one had also included Cara Mund, but Julie Fedorchak was absent. They went around the table a lot. It was it's exciting to see that they're trying to build this race up, because it is exciting. There's 5 candidates involved. 4 of them are very high profile in our state, one of them being former Miss America, one of them having the Republican endorsement, the third being a former sitting House and senator for the state.
And then you have the fourth, Julie
Fedorchak, right? Who's their tax commissioner?
A public service
commissioner. That's it. Yes.
But there's a 5th candidate.
There is.
Yeah. And the race is so interesting because there's so many in there. And that was Charlotte Moore, and
she's from Williston
and was ill, was not able to attend. It's gonna be interesting. So we have an interview with Rick Becker out there. And so you can go to our YouTube channel and watch that. We have reached out to Alex Balaz's team. And we are working on getting that set up. We have reached out to Cara Mund's team as well. We have not heard a response. So if you're out there, and we'd love to do an interview with you to talk about kind of what your goals are for Congress. And then we have an interview set up with Julie Fedorchak. So that will be coming to the YouTube channel soon.
It's exciting.
That'll be another great interview to hear. But there's been a lot of discussion in that House candidate race.
Very heated. All sides of the political aisle. You have the moderates, you have the conservatives. They are. It's a big fight between the North Dakota GOP right now for that race.
For sure, which brings us to an important topic. And that's coming up. You already addressed it a little bit, and we're going to address it some more. That's coming up on June 11th. So June 11th is what I call, and I think what everybody else calls it, primary day. What is primary day? So basically, on primary day, what you're used to and what you know is that you're able to go to your local precinct, however it works in your city or your area of town, and you're able to vote for the candidate that you want to see on the GOP ticket or on the Democratic ticket, the Dem NPL ticket. It's important to note that it doesn't matter if there's only one candidate, you still need to vote for them to get them on the ballot come November. So it's an important day for the primary, for the elections, as the candidates get ciphered out and we actually see who is running, and we finally get to see the parties, as politics ends up being, go and have those debates where it's cross-party. But something else big happens on primary day, and this is what's overlooked. What else happens on primary day is that city council elections are not push to figure out what 4 candidates or whatever you're going to have in November. That's not what happens. The elections actually take place on primary day.
So for your city and local elections, if you want to have a say in them, primary day is the day to get out and vote.
Absolutely. You're going to have 7 candidates for city council to vote from. You can only vote for 3. That has to happen on June 11th, primary day. You're going to have your school board. You're going to have your park board. Those elections are going down on primary day. It's the final thing. You got to be there to vote, or mail in your ballot. However you do it, just make sure it gets done. So really want to stress the importance of primary day. That cannot be overlooked.
Without a doubt.
I think
it's huge.
I think there's a lot of people that don't really understand what primary
No,
day
and
is.
if you look at the Secretary of State's website for the state of North Dakota, you can go back and visit past elections, and you can see the massive difference in voter turnout from the June primary date compared to the November general election. And it's typically by thousands of voters that don't turn out for the one in June. And that's the one that really matters for you on a day-to-day basis for anyone that's in town. If you want to have an actual say over who's on your city council, who's on your park board, the school district, that's where you go to vote.
Absolutely. So as Brad says, I agree with Brad. Get out and vote.
Without a doubt.
Just do it, folks. As Nike likes to say, just do it. We'll send them a bill.
Exactly. Free advertising, but not for long.
That's right. Sorry. Vote, vote, vote. So that's something that's really important. But also with that.
So what are we doing on primary day? What are we going to do?
What are you going to do on primary day? What I'm going to do is I'm going to be sitting in a chair, probably not this chair, hopefully, because this one's quite uncomfortable. But at 7 p.m., we're going to go live like we are right now. And we are going to actually interview. I say interview, but we're going to get like live updates from candidates.
Yep.
We have some people throughout the state that are in the know on some of the overall general elections that are happening in the state or primaries that are happening in the state. And then we also have reached out to some of the city council candidates. They're going to jump on for a couple minutes remotely or virtually and talk about, how things are going. If they win, they'll give us some feedback on that. It'll be really exciting. We'll also be tracking the actual results. We'll have them we'll be on the website where they are posted, and so we'll be sharing that so we can see the live updates as they come in.
So hopefully by the end of the night we'll be knowing who our next city councilmen are.
I hope so, but I hope that's like 10 o'clock.
Hopefully it's not too late. Yeah. It is a Tuesday after all.
Exactly. So we'll be going live at 7 o'clock. Obviously we'll go live a little bit before that so you can jump on, but our coverage, as some might would say, will start at 7 o'clock and it'll go till 10 p.m. that night.
No, for sure.
So it's going to be a great time. I am really looking forward to that.
Oh, it's going to be a blast. We're going to have all the live results coming in as they come in, as close as we can get it. It's going to be really exciting. We're going to have all the people, like Jonathan said. We look forward to it. It's going to be a blast. Absolutely.
So if you're watching this, be sure to put in your calendar that this is going to happen next Tuesday, 2 p.m. Next Tuesday, we're going to be having the city council candidates, as many as are wanting to come. We're going to be talking with them about what's going on. So make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, so that way we can stay in touch with you there. And be on the lookout for some amazing interviews we have released. We got Alexandra Doifel. I pronounce her name wrong all the time. Doifel. She is a Democratic candidate in District 40. So that interview is going to be coming out this week. We also have an interview with Scott Samuelson that will be coming out this week. And then we're going to be also releasing some school board interviews. We're getting those lined up. We have an interview happening Wednesday and then another one that will be happening later this week. So we're going to have some really great content just so we can get to know more about the people that are on the ballots in our city.
Definitely. And be sure to comment on the videos too. We read them all, we promise. And also on top of that, if you have any upcoming events that you know of in town, if it's big, if it's important, if you want us to share it, let us know about it. And if we think it's worthwhile, we will definitely put it into our show in a segment that we're going to try to have with some upcoming events here in Minot.
For real, please let us know. We want to hear about them. It's hard. So
lo and behold, some people like to complain there's not a lot to do in Minot. We want to try to help get the word out there for things going on in town. We want to try to help anyone that's hosting an event have that event be as successful as possible.
Absolutely. I went to visit Minot and there's a couple things that are opening in Minot. So that's happening here soon. We have the opening day for I believe is the Dakota Territory Air Museum. That's opening on May 18th. So that's something that people can
fantastic site to visit. Tons of historical aircraft to view.
It's very neat. The Scandinavian Park, their opening day is May 17th. So things are starting to open up from the winter. So definitely send us in your event so we can broadcast that out there on our Minot Talks.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for watching today. And it looks like we're going to end a couple minutes early, 5 minutes early.
Perfect. I'm ready if you are, Jonathan.
Yeah. So thank you for watching. Be sure to stay tuned. We're going to have more great content coming your way. Thank you, everyone, for watching it and for checking in with us. Thanks, and have a great day.
Thank you.